Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to the lore of Kiyohime, who you can see on the screen here, my favorite girl from Fate Grand Order. Thank you to Michaela for requesting this video on my sponsor page, and if you also want to request a specific video for me to react to, then be sure to hop over to my sponsor page and read the details to make sure that you are requesting correctly. If you have any questions, then be sure to hop into my server, which is linked in my channel description in the link section. In any case, let's get started, and as always, if you do enjoy my reaction to it after, then be sure to support the original video, but also give this video a like, comment down below, and subscribe and share.
Kiyohime, also known as Lady Kiyo, pursuer of Anshin, living lie detector, and yandere.
Living lie detector.
By looking into her class, design, skill set, backstory, and characterization, how well does Fate Grand Order's Kiyohime compare with her mythical counterpart? And what grade would it give her depiction? Let's get into it.
Yes! This video will discuss the following Fate story content. First, Singularity Orleans, Kiyohime's Interlude, Halloween 1 and 2, Summer 1, Epic of Remnant Shimosa, and Lost Spell 6.5 Charm. I'm a little worried there's a little bit of spoilers, but it should be fine.
Kiyohime is a Berserker class servant, which is probably the only real choice for her.
Also, this original one, this outfit is my favorite outfit from her. The black one's cool too, but there's just something appealing about the white one.
Like with Salome, we aren't exactly dealing with a warrior of legend here, but someone who got very, very upset about being strung along and lied to. Indeed, if you look at her stats, all but 2 of them are rank E, the lowest they can go. The only ones higher than that are Agility, probably due to her time spent chasing after Anshin, and her MP, which is her most deadly attack by far. The Berserker class does affect Kiyohime, making her a bit more unhinged and liable to see her own master as being Anshin. She also has a special twist to her madness enhancement. If her master lies to her, it will cost them a command spell. Thankfully, this seems to be objective. Even if Kiyohime thinks it's a lie, like her master saying that they aren't actually Anshin, it won't take a command spell unless her master truly is lying to her. As for why Kiyohime has such a fixation on lies, that will become clear once we get into her story. Getting into her character design, Kiyohime dresses up in a nice kimono in all 3 of her Ascension forms. This is fitting not only since she is Japanese, but because she is the daughter of a reasonably well-off family. After all, her father was the lord of the
rich girl.
Family, and both he and Kiyohime lived in a manor. Their large home is what brought Anshin into their lives, since Kiyohime's home was a place for Anshin to stay during his pilgrimages. In all of Kiyohime's Ascension forms, normal and
that one's my favorite. Oh no, the other one.
Horn-like things on her head. In her myth, Kiyohime transforms into either a giant snake or a dragon, or a snake-like dragon. It depends upon the version. These horns seem to be a reference to that, even if Kiyohime herself isn't actually part dragon or anything.
It makes her look more sophisticated.
Her design shifts, putting on a black kimono while her fan is decorated with flames. You even see some sparks of fire, too. Fire, of course, is very strongly associated with Kiyohime, and we see it not only in her attack animations, but her MP as well.
Wait, you know, I see her all the time, but I just noticed that one of her attacks actually turns into like a huge flaming fan.
Is straightforward, as you would expect from a year 1.
It's kind of hard to see, I guess.
But it works quite nicely, clearly showing not only that she is the daughter of a well-off Japanese family, but also her associations with fire and draconic entities. On a side note, while I don't usually talk about summer versions unless they pull elements from a character's lore, Kiyohime's summer version is a lancer. Now, while the Kiyohime of the legends didn't use a lance, spear, or really any weapon at all besides fire, she is the daughter of a wealthy family, and while she comes from an era before the samurai, the women of samurai clans would also train with weapons, to defend their homes while the men were away. The main weapon these lady samurai would use was the naginata, a polearm with a blade on the end. And what is Summer Kiyohime using as a weapon? It sure looks a lot like a naginata. So
I think it is.
Summer version getting the Lancer class? It's not as random or crazy as what we usually see from other summer servants.
That's true.
I've yet to find the part in Jeanne's backstory where she takes a pause from chasing the English out of France to become a dolphin trainer. Moving into her skill set, Kiyohime's first skill is Morph, which becomes Morph Fire Dragon after an upgrade. Morph is a generic skill for those who are able to change their appearance into something else, like the various Tamamos or the vampiric abilities of Zerker Vlad. The upgrade skill Morph Fire Dragon makes this more specific to Kiyohime, since she turned into a large fire-breathing snake or dragon in her legend.
That makes sense.
Kiyohime's second skill is Stalking, a generic-sounding skill that is unique to Kiyohime. It refers to how she chased after Anshin after he snuck away, with her trying to catch up to him so that she could ask why he wasn't fulfilling his promise to her. From a lore perspective, there's
Anshin's
nothing wrong with the skill's name.
Such a trashy guy.
It depends. From Anshin's point of view, you might call it stalking, but for Kiyohime, I think she would prefer to call it something like pursued or hunting a liar, something like that.
The thing is, like, if he had rejected her clearly, then I wouldn't. I guess that would be on Kiyohime's hands, I suppose, at that point. But if he doesn't actually make it clear, considering that he did say that he was stringing her along and she doesn't like that, you know, this is why you guys tell the truth, even if you think you're going to hurt the other person.
Perspective, really. Lastly, Kiyohime's third skill is Flame-Colored Kiss, which is what Kiyohime wants to do with her master now that she has become a servant. Kiyohime couldn't get Anshin in life, but she is still looking for someone who can be like Anshin for her now. In the FGO materials, it says that while a master can do this with Kiyohime, doing so is risky. Something a master should only do if they've really thought this through. It does say in her profile that Kiyohime would make for a wonderful bride, at least for people who are honest and dedicated. So if you are the type who tells lies or likes to sleep around, you'd best steer clear. Otherwise, you might end up facing this.
Deserved! Burn them all! Oh, habit. I'm not streaming right now.
Phantasm is transforming flame-emitting meditation, whereupon she floats up into the air, transforms into a giant snake-like dragon thing, and proceeds to set her enemies on fire. This
barbecue
is a direct reference to Kiyohime's legend, when she transforms into either a snake or a dragon, finds Anshin, and roasts him alive while he is hiding underneath a bell. As far as her mythology,
wow, that's brutal.
This MP is the only real attack that Kiyohime does, and so is a perfect fit for her MP. Kiyohime's craft essence is Scorching Embrace, featuring that bell surrounded by blue flames. The CE's text is pretty short, with Kiyohime expressing her affection for Anshin, and his rejection of her, the way he rejected her. That is what led to the event that this craft essence depicts. Another great choice.
Oh boy.
C is Kiyohime with ribbons, featuring Kiyohime, but wrapped up in ribbons. Considering who we are dealing with here, a Valentine's gift like this shouldn't be surprising at all. After all, what Kiyohime wants most is her Anshin, or her master that she thinks might be Anshin. This may be a Year 1 Valentine CE, but it's a good one. Now for characterization, starting with a look into the legends surrounding Kiyohime. The legend
this was a good moment.
Kiyohime is a fairly old one in Japan, with its first version dating back to at least the 11th century, nearly 1,000 years ago. This story has been told and retold countless times over the years, and there are many variations of the story, small
Makes
details
sense.
that are changed
It's probably
as different authors
oral
create their own
legends.
versions. Because of this, while I will be telling the story of Kiyohime and Anshin as it typically appears these days, it is by no means the only version of the story out there. Back in the Heian period, during the reign of Emperor Daigo, 897 to 930 CE, there was a priest who every year would go on a pilgrimage from his home in Mutsu province and journey to a shrine located in Ki province, which, as you can see, is a
So
fair distance
far.
away. Naturally, this priest would have to find places to stay during his pilgrimage, asking to spend the night at the homes of those willing to take him in. The name of this priest was Anshin, and one of the places he would stop at each year was a manor house, the home of the Masago family. Anshin would stay here for a night, enjoy the hospitality of the Masago family, and then continue on his journey. Anshin would do this year after year, becoming something of a familiar face to the Masago family, and in particular to the young daughter of the Masago, Kiyohime. During his yearly visits to the Masago home, Kiyo would spend some time with Anshin, the guest visiting her home. Over time, as Kiyohime grew up, she became increasingly infatuated with Anshin, looking forward to
I
his
see.
visits, and even expressed a desire to marry him someday. Anshin responded that someday, once she got older and if she was a good person, then perhaps a marriage might happen. Anshin seems to have said this as a joke, or at least wasn't being too serious about it. But the young Kiyohime,
Oh boy.
who was still a child, took him at his word, believing that she and Anshin really would get married someday. A few years later, when Anshin visited again, Kiyohime, now in her early teens, reminded Anshin of what he said. To him, an offhand comment to a child, but to her, a promise.
This is why you be truthful.
Since he hadn't intended for his words to be taken seriously. He probably should have remembered that he had been speaking to a child. But because he didn't actually mean to marry Kiyohime, this time, on his way back from his pilgrimage, he decided to skip his usual stop at the manor so that he could avoid seeing Kiyohime. Kiyo, who was expecting to see Anshin, grew concerned when he didn't stop by like she expected. Heading out to ask people if they had seen Anshin, she was distraught to learn that, yes, they had seen him, that he had completely bypassed her home and was on his way back home to Mutsu province. Kiyohime decided to chase after Anshin, and before long, she caught up with him. But when she asked him why he hadn't stopped by her house as promised, Anshin blew her off, acting as if Kiyohime was a stranger, that he didn't know who she was.
That is not the way you reject someone.
Kiyohime's sadness now turned to anger, furious that Anshin had not only lied to her about his promise, but that he was now dismissing her entirely. She continued to chase after him. Anshin, getting increasingly worried, rushed to a nearby ferry crossing, paid the boat's pilot, and asked them to take him across, but to not ferry Kiyo across after him. Faced with this obstacle, Kiyohime flew into a rage, and her fury transformed her from a human into a serpent, dragon, thing, something of that nature. She got across the river, continuing her pursuit of Anshin, who fled into a nearby temple. He asked the monks to help him hide from the monster, who they could see approaching the temple. The monks took him to the temple's bell, then hid him underneath it. Kiyohime soon reached the temple, now fully transformed into a draconic-like being. The monks tried to feign ignorance, saying Anshin wasn't there, but it didn't take long for Kiyohime to sense him, hiding underneath.
Oh gosh.
She then wrapped her serpentine body around the bell Anshin was hiding under, and breathed fire upon it, cooking him alive. From there, the story usually ends with Kiyohime taking her own life, drowning herself in the nearby river. Other versions say that she flew off back towards her home, or that perhaps that she and Anshin would reunite in the next life, both born as snakes. There are many different versions of this story, told and retold over the past millennia.
That is a horrible way to reject someone. Like, he should have owned up to his words and just told her up front when she was a teen that he wasn't interested in marrying her, and that he actually doesn't like her in that way. But no, he decided to not say anything and just try to avoid the problem. Like, no wonder she got pissed off and tried to kill him after. You know, it's better to be rejected clearly and cleanly rather than being strung along like this. And he's supposed to be a monk? What a trash guy!
Whether it be in writing, plays, or in silly phone games. The story of Kiyohime is one with many elements. The innocence of a young girl, the folly of a priest, all leading to a deadly outcome.
Oh wait, no, he's a priest. Either way.
There are many different versions of Kiyohime's story, that the one I told may not necessarily be the one that is used for Fate Grand Order. Thankfully, the developers decided to help us out here, because you actually get a brief summary of Kiyohime's story in her in-game profile. And while the summary of her story is much shorter than the one I just gave, the stories do match up quite nicely. But what about her character? Well, we first meet Kiyohime in Orleans, where she is seen having an argument with Elizabeth that the protagonist has to resolve. By beating them up, of course. After that, both Kiyohime and Elizabeth join the party, going with them all the way until the final battles against Jean Alter and Gilles de Rais. As she spends more time with them, Kiyohime develops an attachment to the protagonist, and effectively summons herself to Chaldea by being the reward servant for finishing Orleans.
Yes, it was great.
Where she goes with Mash and the protagonist to a singularity, and where we find out that Kiyohime is friends with Tamamo no Mai, who seems to be trying to give Kiyohime relationship advice. I don't know how much advice to a berserker will stick, but points for trying, I guess.
That's
She
true.
also runs into an alternate version of Kiyohime, who berates her Chaldean counterpart, saying that her violent murder of Anshin in her draconic form ensures that Kiyohime is unlikely to ever be a good servant, that she is too volatile, and her master will find her serpent form hideous. Our all-loving protagonist counters this, of course. They think Kiyohime's dragon form is cool. And even if
She is cool.
she was hoping to hear, Kiyohime accepts that. Kiyohime quickly proved to be a very popular character, and so has gotten quite a lot of event appearances ever since her debut in Orleans.
As expected of my girl.
Along during Halloween events, being one of the first servants to get a swimsuit in Summer 1, or many more appearances. I'm glossing over these because Kiyohime is generally depicted the same way in all of them. A servant that is very attached to her master, sometimes thinks that her master might be Anshin, and someone that everyone has to be very careful around. This is usually played for laughs. Kiyohime is that scary yandere ally that makes people uncomfortable. But you can't just push her away, not unless you want to end up like Anshin. She also kinda shows up in the Shimosa chapter of the Epic of Remnant arc. Or rather, we get a character that uses Kiyohime's model and aspects of her personality. This isn't actually Kiyohime, but it's still worth mentioning. But
Oh, she looks so cute in that.
Specific attention to is her most recent one, while spelt 6.5, Traum. Here, Kiyohime makes a surprise appearance during the battle between the Righteous and Reinstatement realms. Kiyohime fights for the Reinstatement realm, heads towards the forest where Shufu set up all of her traps, and sets the whole area ablaze. This effectively ruins the defense of the Eastern Gate. But then the protagonist, who by now has become very familiar with Kiyohime's personality, plays a trick on her, getting her to believe that her allies in the Reinstatement realm had lied to her by saying the other gate had fallen, despite the fact that Vlad III was still alive. Technically, it had fallen. Sancho had captured Vlad and was in the middle of trying to hand him over to Constantine XI. But since that wasn't certain yet,
It's a good thing I'm gonna forget this.
allies saying that the West Gate had fallen, technically, had been a lie. Kiyohime's response is to immediately walk away, wanting nothing to do with the Reinstatement realm anymore. Later on in the story, Kiyohime actually helps the protagonist out during the attack on Kriemhild's stronghold, helping to hold the line while the party engages Kriemhild in battle. Kiyohime's appearance
she's so
in
cute.
may be relatively brief, but it does depict her character very well. Her hatred of liars, and by extension her choosing to side with those who are honest with her, are clearly born out of her experiences with Anshin. Kiyo is incredibly dangerous as an opponent, but she still tends to see things in absolutes, is emotionally unstable, and is liable to go from friend to enemy in an instant if something sets her off. In other words, she is still the young teen who took Anshin seriously, and then proceeded to burn him alive when she found out he wasn't being honest to her. As silly as we might find Kiyohime at times, the crazy yandere who provides moments of comedic terror as everyone tries not to piss her off, the simple truth is, Kiyohime's characterization is actually really good. And now for the verdict. What grade would I give Kiyohime's depiction in Fate Grand Order?
A?
To be perfectly honest, this one kinda terrifies me. On the one hand, if I gave her an F and tried to set her on fire, she would probably roast me right back. But if I gave her too high a grade, well, I guess it's good that I try my best to be an honest person. I'm not always straightforward, but telling outright lies isn't in my nature. Anyway, where does Kiyohime land? Well, her design,
A?
skill set, and characterization all work very well. There's nothing really wrong here.
B or
It may
A?
not be super deep or complex, but it's effective. And we have to factor in how short Kiyohime's original story is. She's similar to her fellow yandere Salome, who I covered before. But while Salome is pretty much a one-hit wonder, FGO keeps finding ways to bring Kiyohime out for more shenanigans, recently in Traum, and in future events yet to come on the NA server. In my previous video on Caesar, several people left comments saying that Caesar was a victim of being a Year 1 servant, that the designers didn't give him enough attention because they weren't taking the game seriously back then. Kiyohime is my rebuttal to that argument, because she is also a
She's
Year 1
perfect.
servant, debuting even before Caesar. I came into this video wondering how much fun I'd have tearing into Kiyohime's depiction, but instead I ended up finding one of the best depicted characters in the entire Fate franchise. And so for a final grade, I'm going to give Kiyohime, the yandere princess, an A+. A grade
Heck
reserved
yeah!
only for the best of the best. She joins Gawain, and unofficially Charlotte Corday, as one of the rare few I've found worthy of this top grade. Now, I can only hope that the Kiyohime in my Chaldea doesn't take this as an invitation to try to make me her spouse. After all, there is another, much
Why
more
not?
deadly berserker who has already laid claim to that. And in a fight, I don't think Kiyohime would stand a chance against the Queen of Winter. Certainly not mine. Anyway, if you would like to learn more about Kiyohime's new
Morgan.
rival, check out my video on Morgan here. Until next time, Kiyohime.
So let me just have it on her because she looks great. But I'm not surprised that the depiction for her is accurate, since the story itself is pretty much short. But I feel really bad for her. At least the version that we learned of just now. Kiyohime did not deserve to be lied to in that way. I mean, even if she is mentally unstable, it's better to be truthful. You know? Because then it's on the other person. If he had just done that at the very least and wouldn't just avoid her without saying anything and just giving her false hope, that's obviously gonna make it worse. It's no wonder that she blew up, because he wouldn't give a straight answer. And then what does he do? Treat her like a stranger? Like, no, you don't do that. You have to reject her properly. What kind of behavior is that? That's like worse than a kindergartner. And he's a priest? Oh, he learned nothing, clearly. What's the point journeying that much if you're not going to even do the right things correctly, you know? In any case, I really enjoyed learning about her lore. It was actually very interesting just understanding like how accurate her moves and story connect. For example, the way that she morphs into a dragon, and also her noble phantasm is becoming that dragon and burning someone into flames. She's mostly my stress relieving Sabanto out of all the others. Like, I like the others too, but they're not my favorite. I feel the most satisfaction when I play with Kiyohime, because burning the enemies down feels very, very satisfying, personally speaking. But I do wonder what the other A+ characters are like what their story is, considering that he said that it's the highest rank that he could give someone in regards to lore accuracy with the two that were shown. Kind of curious, but in any case, this was a very enjoyable lore video. They did a really good job of making it super engaging, especially with the lack of, because lately a lot of videos tend to have too much editing, which honestly makes me very tired at one point. But I like the fact that this has minimal amounts of editing, but it's very to the point. And the way that the creator did such a good job, like basically helping us journey through her story and showing like what the connections are with her design, her abilities, with her story. I like the simple type of editings and straight to the point ones. It's a lot easier to consume because of that, and enjoy too. I didn't know what to expect, honestly, when I first watched this video for the reaction, but my girl is great and she deserved better. Anshin is a piece of trash who deserves to be in the trash can in a burning bell. Okay, maybe that's a little too harsh, but still. He strung along a little girl. Like, okay, I can excuse you for joking around when she was like really young, but when she's a teenager, that's when you make it very clear and be the proper adult that you should be. But no, he decides to just do the worst thing ever that you could ever do. Just because you're afraid to hurt someone does not mean that you should be rejecting someone like that. You should be rejecting them very clearly, like an adult should do. My girl deserves better. I'm sorry, girl. I only see you as a daughter. Don't kill me. At least I'm being honest, okay? Even if you think I'm lying, you know? But who else among you likes Kiyohime the best? And if you don't see Kiyohime as your waifu or daughter, then who is amongst the crew, I guess amongst all the servants, is your favorite? Let me know down below in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoy this video, then be sure to support the original video. Make sure to like the video, comment on that video, and subscribe to them. And if you enjoy my reaction to this, then be sure to also do the same. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. And of course, if you want to request a reaction video from me, then be sure to go on my sponsor, which is linked in the pinned comment. But it's also shown here, so you can just type it out as well. And thank you again to Michaelo for requesting this amazing video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!